Okay. Hello, how's everyone doing today? Okay. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Hey Justin. Modded account ban? Can somebody explain that to me? What that's about? Hey Buckbeak, Rockstar's doing a ban wave on modded accounts. And hello Emily. Hey, Gianaf. Hey Isaiah. Hi Patrick, and happy St. Patrick's Day. That's today? Oh, well, I guess happy St. Patrick's Day then. I'm sorry for being, well, no, it's okay, Mr. Waifu. You're fine. Don't worry about it, man. Thank you for sponsoring my channel for nearly 3 years, but don't worry about it, Mr. Waifu. You're fine. Oh, it's on Sunday. Oh, okay. Days Gone is definitely a fun game. I love Days Gone. Okay. My day's going good. How are you? All modded accounts are getting banned. No more 7,982s, huh? Well, what I'll say about it is, my thoughts on it, I wouldn't really say that I have a, I have more of a neutral, I would say, approach towards it. I would say probably Deacon, Alfie, because Deacon is just longer in the game. What are your thoughts on the Clock and Bell raid? I think it's an okay DLC. I think some people that are just hating on it, saying, like, you know, it's a terrible DLC, I don't think they really realize what a terrible DLC is. I mean, we've had way worse DLCs than that one. It wasn't a big DLC, but it wasn't, I don't think it was bad either. My family's been doing good, Isaiah. Okay, hello, Mari. Saludos de Mexico. Well, hello, Mari. Who's more Starkweather or Leo Starkweather? Probably because he got way more people killed. No, they're not adding anything to Red Dead. It's unfortunate. What GTA 4 DLC do you prefer? I would say probably the Ballad of Gay Tony because it has more content than The Lost and Damned. Oh, I didn't know that, Mustang. The Darkest Stranger mission, Red Dead Redemption 1. Besides the, I Know You one with the Strange Man, When you talk about how you ran Bully Special Edition on PC, or Scholarship Edition, could you use that trick for older games like GTA 4 and Saints Row 2? Also, do you know anyone who's really good at PC building? Because I'm trying to find someone who could help me out. And what do you mean, the trick, Blinded Eagle? Can you explain for that what you mean? Do I know anyone who's really good at PC building? I'm trying to find someone who can help me. Um, One of my friends in real life, he did, he did help me build my PC. But I'll after the stream, I'll probably tell you, uh, I'll probably give you his email after the stream if you want to talk to him. See, this guy here. All the time passes by quick. Happy to support you all the time. Also, if you're looking for new mods, I could be one. I know what to do, etc. Okay, buddy. I would just have to probably talk to my other moderators. I do appreciate the offer, though. But thank you, man, and thank you for sponsoring my channel for about 2 years and 4 months. Thank you, man. I can't believe it's already been a year. It doesn't feel like it's here to I don't feel it doesn't feel like it. Here's to many more great moments. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Buckbeak. Thanks, man. Oh, how I wanted an exe file and I ran it in compatibility mode in the iteration of Windows in administrator mode. Yeah, yeah, the thing about that is Bully has a lot of crashes. That's the thing is, a lot of Steam versions of Rockstar have a lot of crashes, but the worst Steam version of a Rockstar game I've ever played is, what was it, Manhunt. Manhunt is the worst Steam version of a game that I played. It just had so many glitches to it. Okay, let's head over to this camp. What are your thoughts on TikTok getting banned in the US? The thing about this is that TikTok has not been completely banned. I think this went through the House. I think it has to go through the Senate and then the President. But it's what I'll tell you about that is I don't know how I feel about that because like, you know, banning TikTok would be like technically a violation of free speech, but at the same time there's like you know, there's concerns that it could be used as spyware for China. So I understand kind of both arguments. There are like influencers who make money off of TikTok too, but there is a lot of toxicity on that platform as well. But I will say though that about TikTok is regardless of how you feel about it, if you think it should be banned or not, it's kind of funny seeing how the Chinese government is reacting to it, how China is basically getting so pissed over it. It's kind of funny considering that they ban literally everything. Would I rather have a boss that's too laid back or too professional? Thank you, Zach, for the super chat. When you say too professional, I'm assuming you mean strict. Thank you, Zach. Hang on. Free aim. To answer your question, I would rather have a boss that is more professional than laid back. The reason is because if you have a boss that's more professional, or I would say, you know, a bit more strict, here's the thing about them, is that that boss might be strict, but when you need them, they're gonna have your back. Whereas somebody that's completely laid back, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily gonna have your back when you need it. That's what I'll say about it. Because I think a lot of people would just choose the laid-back boss, but they wouldn't realize the, I don't think they would realize the consequences of that as well. Because there was a supervisor that I used to have in retail, you know, many years ago, and And she was extremely strict. When I first started working there, I really didn't like her. But then I realized that she was really the best supervisor there because she always got all her work done, and she would get on your case if you didn't finish all your work. But the thing about her is that if you were doing all of your work and you needed her help, you know, she was there to help you. She wouldn't give you any excuses. That's the thing about it. So I realized that that strict doesn't necessarily mean like heartless. People tend to confuse the two. Let's be real, GTA Plus will let you have GTA 6 early. I don't think they're going to do something like that, Blinded Eagle. Thank you for the super chat. Have I watched the show Criminal Minds when I was a kid? No, I haven't watched Andor. When's the last time you drank water? What do you mean? Maybe like half an hour ago? Hey bro, I need your help. I'm doing GTA 3. I'm trying to do Trial by Fire when you have to kill 25 triads, but I'm struggling. They're not spawning many. The thing about that mission, I don't think you need to use the flamethrower. I think you can use Molotovs too to make it easier. That retail video is great. Thank you, man. I'm gonna have another video like that, but the next video I'm gonna have like that is me talking about group projects. Thank you, nicest person in the universe. To get the triads to spawn, maybe basically have Claude turn around, because sometimes they'll spawn behind you if you're not looking behind you on the street. My favorite show? My favorite TV show of all time? Probably be Sopranos, East Wolf. Any tips on Sleeping Dogs getting it on Saturday? I'm so excited. I would say learn the combos pretty quickly and always collect the statues, because once you basically learn all the melee combos, nothing will be able to stop you. Can we get some real estate tips? Well, I'm not a complete expert on that. I own one rental property, and I want to eventually get another one. If there's like a specific question you want to ask me about that, I could answer if I know. So if you want to ask me that, go ahead. Hey, pro, how's your day? I have a trader if you want to sell it. Okay, we can sell it right after this. Have I seen the show Masters of the Air? No, I have not, Glover. And thank you for sponsoring my channel, Justin. Did I enjoy Manhunt 2? I did. Surplus Shepherd. Hey Pro, I was recently approved for my FFL, and I'm starting my gun shop soon. If you ever want to collaborate, I have a decent collection to make videos on, especially historical firearms. Well, thank you, Surplus Shepherd. I do appreciate that offer. Do I think the Jedi deserve to be executed? No, but I think that I think the Jedi brought it on themselves, if that makes sense. Do I think that Polly would whack his mom? No, I don't think he would go that far. Thank you, East Wolf. If World War III happens, let's get the GTA 3 Leone family together, because they have past 12 shotguns in the orbital cannon. But I I got up to Sayonara or Salvatore. Thank you, Blinded Eagle. Yeah, those Leone shotguns are the scariest thing I've ever seen in a video game. Do I think I'll ever quit YouTube? No, I don't think so. When we're at 3 minutes, I guess deliver it. Pro, does Sniper Elite get bullet drop correct? Not necessarily all the time. I thought the most realistic game concerning bullet drop is Hell Let Loose. Hell Let Loose I thought was a bit more realistic. Bullet drop is actually less in real life than in a lot of video games that you see. Hey, do you think in Red Dead Redemption 2 the strange man should have had interactions with Arthur like he did with John? And do you think he should return in Red Dead Redemption 3? I think if the strange man returns in Red Dead Redemption 3, everybody's going to know exactly who he is unless they make him different. So maybe it was actually a good idea that he wasn't, you know, completely in the game. He was like an Easter egg in Red Dead Redemption 2, but everybody would have known who he was if he was there. Thank you, Lopez. Subs. Favorite cartoon from my childhood? Probably Courage the Cowardly Dog. Did I ever 100% Watch Dogs? Yes, I did in the past. Okay, just invite. You said you needed like a posse, right? That you needed to sell something. Return to Slab or suffer my curse as King Ramsay. Remember that? The hardest game I ever played. Well, recently the Battlefront, you know, campaign and hard that I've been playing was very difficult. Hugh says, "What's your offer?" And he's like, okay, but $1 million is as low as I'll go. I remember him saying that too. I think Micah was kind of more evil than Dmitry Raskolov. I don't know, because Dmitry pretended to be, you know, Nico's friend. Well, where Arthur, I guess, didn't expect Micah to betray him, but knew that Micah was always a scumbag. Do I think that Shang-Chi is like a Chinese version of Dmitry Raskolov? You mean the main antagonist in Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days? He, you know, maybe to an extent, but he doesn't, but Dmitry has nowhere near the power that Shang-Chi has. Okay. I took care of it in chat, guys. Don't worry about it. Pro, worst act in the Clone Wars? In the TV show, you mean? I'm not sure how to think about it. What happened to the 7 after Kane and Lynch dead men? Oh, the 7 got disbanded. You mean, you know, Kane and Lynch pretty much killed all of them. Oh, well, Lynch said that, Hustler. The real question is, how do you screw up a port of a game that's from 20 years ago after the Knights of the Old Republic remake disaster? I'm not shocked about this, yeah. It definitely surprised me. I didn't expect it to be a disaster like this. No, I think they'll probably go for a new story if they do ever do Kate Lynch 3. Hey Austin, thank you for sponsoring my channel for 7 months. Worst act in the Clone Wars in general, not just regarding the show. Like what you mean, like scenes that were like really badly designed? Is that what you mean? Do I think Darth Sidious is a psychopath? You mean the Emperor? Yes. Manipulative, no, empathy whatsoever. Very sadistic. Do you think they should remake Vice City and Liberty City stories? Yeah, I would definitely be up for playing those games if they did. I'm making, oh, heinous actions that happened in the Clone Wars. Oh, yes, I know about that, Hustler. No, the bowling ball that Lynch can find. Maybe do a video on how to get started on your first property. I have one, and I'm kind of overwhelmed on what I need to do first. I will tell you, my opinion on rental properties is, I don't like to look at anything that is, that's older than 20 years. I know people will tell me that there's old houses that are, perfectly fine, but I just don't like to risk it. I don't want, anything breaking down, or pay a little bit more and not have to, worry about anything as much breaking, I should say, later on. But here's the thing I'll tell you guys. Do you know what if you're ever a landlord, do you know what the worst thing that you can do managing your rental property, like a massive mistake that people make? One of the biggest mistakes that people make when managing their rental property is they basically include utilities. And I personally think that that's like one of the worst mistakes that you can do as a landlord. Now, when I say utilities, I'm talking about like, water and like gas and heat, paying that for your tenants. Now, I'm not saying to be heartless or anything like that, but just listen to what I have to say about this. If you want to be like nice and help your tenants out, then you could like pay for like lawn service, cutting the grass, or you could like pay for shoveling, stuff like that if you have like a bad winter season. But don't ever pay for the utilities like gas, water, and heat. The reason for that, it's not about being cheap, but it's because what's going to happen is if your tenants don't have to pay like water, gas, or heat, and you're paying for those utilities, you could charge them more for rent if you're doing that. That's what a lot of people do. But the thing about that is if the tenants are not paying for the utilities, a lot of times they are going to abuse it. And so, like, imagine that, like, a tenant is going to work and they leave, like, all the lights on in the house. That's going to, like, tally up. And you're going to probably lose more money from paying those bills than you are, the extra amount in rent that you could collect. So that's what I say is don't pay for the utilities if you're gonna have a rental. Pro, you said how you thought the CIS were the good guys of the Clone Wars. What makes you think that? In my opinion, the Republic was the good guys. CIS did so many war crimes, like enslaving the Tortugas. But the thing about that is that I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about when Count Dooku basically betrayed the Tortugas to the Zygerians. That's what you're talking about, right? Here's the thing about this is the Separatist Alliance was a democracy in the Clone Wars. What Count Dooku did completely goes against, like, the separatist ideology in Star Wars. Like, the separatists would not have supported, something like that. The thing about this is Count Dooku was not a true separatist in Star Wars, and the thing about this is you have to think about the Tortugas reached out to the separatists first. They actually asked them for help, and Count Dooku betrayed them to the Zygerians. So imagine that like, if the Republic exposes something like that, it's gonna make the separatists look really bad. So that's what I say is that there was really bad people in the Separatist Alliance. There was definitely, like, horrible people. But what I'm saying is that the average Separatist was not a bad person in the Clone Wars. The average Separatist, they just wanted independence, freedom from the Republic. Like, they supported, small government, low taxes, greater autonomy for their planets. Like, I don't think the Separatists were the bad guys in the Clone Wars. And here's the thing about this. For the people that say the Republic were the good guys in the Clone Wars, you have to remember why the Clone Wars started in the first place. The Clone Wars started because the Separatists thought that the Republic was corrupt. That's the whole reason the Clone Wars actually started. But but look at how the Clone Wars ended. How did the Clone Wars end? The Republic became the Empire, which basically became like a fascist regime. And so, like, pretty much everything that the Separatists said about the Republic being corrupt, all of that was pretty much proven true with what the Empire ended up becoming. So that's what I'll say about it. Is I don't think that the Separatists were the bad guys in the Clone Wars. I don't think they were totally heroic either, but I don't think they were necessarily the bad guys. There was definitely bad people in the Separatist Alliance, like, Grievous was definitely a bad person, Dooku was definitely a bad person, but you have to remember also that Dooku was not a true Separatist. He was basically a pawn of Sidious, and he sabotaged the Separatists several times. There were several times where Dooku would sabotage the Separatists, and he would screw them over. And Grievous was not a true Separatist either. In the Clone Wars TV show, Grievous even admits that he doesn't care for the Separatist politics or the Separatist ideology or anything like that. He just wants to kill Jedi. That's basically Grievous's whole thing. So I wouldn't say that Grievous and, like, Dooku were even, like, true Separatists. And the biggest problem I would say that the Separatist Alliance had in Star Wars is that their head of state, Count Dooku, had too much power. And also the corporations, the corporate alliance had too much power. Like, the corporations in the Separatist Alliance were evil. Like, the Trade Federation, the Banking Clan, those guys were bad. But it was like, the average, like, Separatist, I would say that the was like a good person in the Star Wars universe. I think they had more of a justification for fighting their war than the Republic did. You see here. Hey, Pro, I assume you saw that Tennessee Center, who was well, I don't know. Well, what happened exactly, Mario? I don't really get involved in politics, but what happened? Thank you for the super chat. Both sides are victims of Palpatine. No good, no evil. Yeah, I would say you can't say the Separatists are good, but I would say you can't probably say that the Separatists were completely evil either. I think the Separatists were more in the right in the Clone Wars. That's what I'll say about it. The Empire was definitely evil, but I don't think you can say the Separatists were evil. Should a system of credit exist in GTA 6's online multiplayer? Each player would have to calculate interest, and etc. Well, the only game I could think of that really had, like, interest was Crime Boss for Arcade City. You could actually take loans out, but if you didn't pay it back, you'd have massive problems. Thank you, Alvanor. Were the Geonosians evil? No. Here's the thing about the Geonosians. The Geonosians were a monarchy. But the reason that the Geonosians had seceded from the Republic is, like, people would say, oh, they're a monarchy, but there's plenty of monarchies that were also on the side of the Republic. Like, Pantora was a monarchy. What was it? Onderon, which was a separatist planet, but then became a Republic planet, was a monarchy. And then, what was the other monarchy? Naboo was a monarchy. Pantora was a monarchy. But about the Geonosians weren't evil. The reason that the Geonosians actually joined the Separatist Alliance was because they were basically treated like crap. Like, the Republic did not care about Geonosis at all. The Geonosians were actually a very advanced civilization. You know, they didn't have like big metropolis like locations like Coruscant, but the Geonosians were very smart with technology. The Geonosians were the people who invented the Death Star. You have to think about it that too. They were smart enough to like to come up with something like that. But the reason the Geonosians joined the Separatist Alliance was because the Republic treated them like crap. They were racist against them. The humans dominated the Republic planets, the core planets. The Geonosians were treated like crap. They were ignored constantly. So that's ultimately why they ended up joining the Separatist Alliance. And here's the thing of what I'll say about the Geonosians. Out of all the people in the Star Wars universe, I would say that the Geonosians are the people that have had it the worst. Like the worst fate out of all the people that have suffered in the Star Wars universe. The Geonosians suffered more than any other people. I think that the Geonosians suffered even more than the Alderaanians. Now you're probably thinking, why? Didn't Alderaan get destroyed? Alderaan did get destroyed. But the difference between Geonosis and Alderaan is, even though Geonosis did not get blown up by the Death Star, the Geonosians had been exterminated. They had been pretty much wiped out by the Empire. They were on the verge of, being extinct. The Alderaanians, some of the Alderaanians survived. A lot of the Alderaanians were actually off-planet, so even though their planet had been destroyed, there were some Alderaanians that survived and, kept their culture alive. But the Geonosians, on the other hand, had been completely wiped out. The Geonosians were used as slave labor by the Empire to build the Death Star, and then what ended up happening is when the Empire didn't need them, they basically killed them all. I think the Empire used gas. I think that's what they used to kill all the Geonosians, and there was only one Geonosian left. Only one. So literally they wiped out the entire planet that there was only one left. So the Geonosians did not deserve that. They had the worst out of all the people in the Star Wars universe, and like I said earlier, is what the Separatists said about the Republic pretty much was 100% true with what the Republic ended up becoming when they said the Republic was corrupt. So I think the Separatists were probably the in the right in the Clone Wars. If I lived in the Star Wars universe, I would have supported the Separatists. Let me see. Oh, hang on. Let me kick this guy out of chat. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't looking at chat. Let me kick this guy out of chat. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just... I'm sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, he's kicked out. My favorite clone? I would say probably Fives. If a tenant is really good with rent, buy 1 month. They're a little bit short by like $100, $200. Would you just put the reminder for next month to break even? Let me look at that super chat again. If a tenant is really good with rent, but 1 month they're a little bit short by like $100 to $200, would you put the remainder for next month to break even? Here's what I'll tell you is, if you're a landlord, right, and your tenants are late on their rent, what I would do if I was you is, if it's like the first month that they're late on their rent, like, they if it happens like one time, just waive it. Just basically collect whatever rent they paid you in that month and just waive whatever whatever fee might be, or what they didn't pay. Just for that single month. But make sure you talk to them. Make sure you tell them, like, hey, what's going on? Why didn't you make, the first payment? And just tell them, like, I'm not going to charge you a fee for this month, but, like, please, next month, please, like, have it on time. If they're not on time next month, then just, give them a late fee, because you've warned them. That's what I would say. Is like, the first time, just, like, don't give them a late fee. Just, like, just tell them, like, hey, what's up? Like, why were you late on, like, rent and stuff like that? And, like, tell them, I'm not going to charge you a fee this time, but, like, if you do this again, like, next time I will. So, like, I think that's, like, you got to maintain some good customer service. That's what I personally feel like. I've never charged a tenant late fee. Though I honestly, I'll tell you something, is the first group of tenants that I had, I probably should have charged them a late fee once, because they did it multiple times that they were late. And for people wondering, the tenants that I had, they were rich. They were millionaires. Like, the tenants that I rented my house out to were multimillionaires, and they were like they were late by like a week, like a lot of times, like on like their rent. So I'm saying is, there are people who will take advantage of you too. So the what I will tell you about it is is like if a tenant is late on their rent, like the first month if you own a rental property, just like tell them that tell them like, hey, I'm not going to charge you a fee this month, but like, please next month have it on time. If you don't have it on time, then I'm going to have to charge you a fee. But like, the tenants that I had, basically they owned like 4 houses. In like different states, like they owned a house in Montana, in Wyoming, in Oregon, and they were basically they were roofers. That was their businesses. They ran a roofing company, and they had like their roofing company in like 4 different states, and they had like I think 100 employees or something like that. It was like a lot of employees that they had. But anyways, about them is they wanted to expand their roofing company to my state. And so they didn't want to buy a house here, so they decided to rent out a house, and they owned like an office building in my town too. And this this millionaire couple is they were late like a few times. They were late by like a week, and like I had like a lot of patience, so like I like the first or second day that they were late, I wouldn't even text them. But then, like, after a week, I would just text them, and I'd be like, hey, is everything all right? Like, why were you late on the rent? And basically, I would have the same exact thing, the same exact response they would give to me. She would respond to me, and she would basically say to me, like, oh, I'm sorry, I was out on a business trip. It's like, this won't happen again. But then it happens again, like, next month. Well, I'm sorry, I was out on a business trip again. It's like, come on. Like, seriously, like, you have 4 houses in, like, other states. It's like, you have, like, nearly 100 employees. Don't give me, an excuse that, like, you can't make time to pay the rent on time. And, like, and the thing about that is, by her, that same logic that she gave me is I could order a roof from her. So I could order a roof. I could have them come to my house and, like, build a roof for me. And then, like, when they expect me to pay, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't pay right now. I'm going to be late for, like, a week. I'm out on a business trip. I wonder how they'd react to that. So that's what I'll say is, like, don't let yourself be taken advantage of also, because people will do stuff like that too. Uh, Pro, what about when the Separatists imprisoned the Twi'lek people in Season 1 of the Clone Wars? What about the Blue Shadow Virus Doctor and King Rash of Onderon and tested the Blue Shadow one? I don't remember that exactly. Can you remind me what that story was about? But the other ones, the Separatists when they invaded Ryloth wasn't the whole reason that they invaded Ryloth is because Ryloth was declaring itself a neutral, like, planet. I think that Ryloth was not taking a side in that, and what was going to happen is the Separatists basically thought that if Ryloth wasn't going to take their side, that they were eventually going to take the Republic's side. And also, you have to remember one thing about Ryloth, is that really fat senator that was in charge of Ryloth, like the really fat guy, he was corrupt. Like, he was a really, really bad guy, the guy who was in charge of Ryloth. What's his name? I'm trying to remember. Cham Syndulla. Cham Syndulla was the guy who was popular. He was like the true leader of Ryloth. If Cham Syndulla had sided with the Separatists and not sided with the Republic, the Separatists would have made him senator of Ryloth. But he chose to side with the Republic, and he chose to work with that really corrupt senator. And that same really corrupt senator, he took the Empire's side when the Empire basically was oppressing Ryloth. So that's what I'll say about that. As for the Onderon situation could have been handled like a lot better. I will agree with that. When they put in like a puppet king that was like hated by the people. I think that situation could have been handled a lot better. I don't think that was like the right way to handle it personally. The Separatists were Dooku's pawns, and Dooku was Palpatine's pawns. Yeah, so, I'll tell you is, did the Separatist Alliance do horrible things in the Clone Wars? Yeah, I do think they did horrible things in the Clone Wars. But, like I said, I think that the whole reason for the Separatists seceding from the Republic, I think that was more justified. I'm not defending some of the corrupt people in the Separatist Alliance, but I think that the Separatists, their goals, I would say, were better than the Republic's goals. That's what I'll say about that. Because you have to remember that the average Separatist, like the Separatist Senate, the Senate of the Separatists were good people. Like, the Separatist Senate was actually not corrupt. Where the Republic Senate itself was more corrupt than the Separatist Senate. the Separatist Senate did not know about a lot of the horrible things that the Separatist commanders were doing. They didn't know about that. The Separatist Council had too much power, and the Separatist Senate did not know about a lot of some of the bad things that they were doing. And the Separatist Senate is actually more powerful than the corporate alliance, because remember that when they were voting for peace, the peace faction had more power than the corporate alliance in the Separatist Parliament, and they voted for a peace treaty with the Republic to end the war. But it was basically sabotaged by Count Dooku, who didn't respect the vote. So that's what I say, is that Count Dooku hurt the Separatist Alliance more than any other Republic, general or Jedi. Dooku was the Separatist's biggest problem. That's what I'll say about that. Would you say Dooku is more of a gray Jedi? No, I would say he was a Sith. Thank you, General's Alert, for the super chat. Pro, do you ever miss living in New York? Thank you, Generals, and thank you, Random. Not really. It's way more affordable where I live. Taxes are lower. There's less traffic. I would say the only thing I miss about New York is that there's way more 24-hour stores out there. But other than that, no, not really. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? Also, would you come to Rook Island for us? What's Rook Island? Is that the island where Far Cry 3 takes place? Thank you, Voss. Thank you for the super chat. I actually never played Far Cry 3, but I know who Voss is. Unrelated, but I understand all of the GTA stories watching your lore videos, especially San Andreas. Thank you for the content. Thank you, Malik. Thank you for the super chat. Pro, most evil thing each faction did, the most evil thing that the Empire did was exterminating the Geonosians. The worst thing the Republic did, I have to think about that, because the thing about that is that, the thing about that is that there was a lot of the Republic in the Star Wars universe. The Republic also committed war crimes. People don't know about that. For example, what was his name? That guy, that Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, he's the guy who, says, what about the droid attack on the Wookiees, the guy with the tall head. What I'll say about him is, that guy is a scumbag. That guy is, one of the worst Jedi out there, and that guy deserved to get gunned down during Order 66. The reason that guy was such a scumbag is because that guy did not care at all about his family. Here's the thing is, he had, 5 wives. So, he was, in a polygamous relationship. But also is, all of his wives and kids died, and he didn't care at all. And, in fact, what actually happened was when Anakin was actually grieving his mother dying, he was basically telling him, you shouldn't care about your mother dying, because I didn't care about my wives dying. He was, a terrible person. And the worst thing that Mundi did is Mundi ordered the clones to use flamethrowers on the Geonosians. So people don't know that, is the Geonosians basically had their own cave network, and he basically ordered the clones to use flamethrowers to burn the Geonosians out. So that was a war crime, that a Jedi Master was telling the clones to use flamethrowers on a sentient people. That was the Geonosians didn't deserve that. So that's what I'll say about that. That guy was a scumbag. The Republic used flamethrowers on the Geonosians. That was definitely a war crime. Was it here? Oh, you are in for a treat, Sten Pat. We all got all types of fun on my island. A big Hollywood star came here. McLovin was here. Thank you, Voss. I will tell you, now that I think about it, for people asking me what the worst thing the Republic did during the Clone Wars, I think I have the answer. The worst thing the Republic did during the Clone Wars is the Clone Army. I would say that's the worst thing that they did. Because when you really think about the Clone Army, what was the Clone Army? It was a slave army. That's when you really think about the clones. They literally created people in a laboratory and basically didn't give them any choice in their lives and forced them to be soldiers and sent millions of them to die. They had no choice. So that's and the Jedi were perfectly fine with this too. You have to think about that. Doesn't that completely go against the Jedi's principle? Aren't the Jedi supposed to be pretty much against slavery? So that's what I say is that the clones are probably the worst thing that they were the worst thing that the Jedi and the Republic really did. And also, the people of the Republic were some scummy people at the same time, too. Because the citizens of the Republic did not want the war to end. They didn't want the Clone Wars to end. But they didn't want to fight it themselves. And so they basically supported, like, a clone army being created and, like, forced to fight in that war. And it's kind of funny how the same citizens of the Republic who wanted the clone army built to fight the war for them ended up getting pissed at the clone army during the Empire's time. Well, I would say that they kind of brought that on themselves because of the fact that they supported that in the first place. So yeah, it was like they really didn't have a choice, and that was pretty much, yeah. I would say that's the worst thing. What was the worst thing the Rebel Alliance did? I would say the worst thing the Rebel Alliance did was I'm trying to think about it. I have to think about that one. I'm sure there's something bad. Probably Saw Gerrera's rebels. They were very ruthless and brutal. Yeah. What about the First Order? Well, honestly, I hate the that time. Like, I just hate the First Order Resistance time. I just like, I don't consider it canon just as much. I dislike that time. Isn't like the main character in Andor? Isn't he like a former separatist? Like the main rebel in Andor? I'm trying to remember because isn't there like one character that was like a former separatist in the Andor TV show? Uh, No, I haven't seen the new Bad Batch season. I haven't seen it completely, but I have actually seen the scenes with the Separatists in the Bad Batch that I actually have seen. One of my friends, he told me that if I like the Separatists in Star Wars, I should watch the Bad Batch, and I like the way the Bad Batch actually portrayed them. That they didn't portray them as evil, like you saw in the movies, for example. Bro, what's wrong with the flamethrower? They did what they had to do to win. Also, they were also shooting at the clones and him too. They didn't use it on civilians. It does. Here's the thing about that. Just because, just because you use a military weapon against other soldiers doesn't in combat doesn't mean that it's not a war crime. That's the thing about this is that there are certain weapons that are banned in warfare that you can't use in warfare, and it doesn't matter if it's like used on an enemy who's shooting at you, who's trying to kill you. That doesn't matter. That's what I'll say about it. Is there's a reason that we don't use flamethrowers anymore. Why aren't flamethrowers being used anymore? Is it because flamethrowers aren't don't have a purpose anymore? No, I mean if there was like a modern company, they probably could develop like a flamethrower for the military, like a modern flamethrower. But the reason they're not used anymore is because they're just illegal in most cases by international law. They're seen as inhumane. They cause too much suffering. That's the thing about that. So that's why I was saying what the clones did on Geonosius by going into those caves and burning out the Geonosians with flamethrowers. I think that was a war crime. It's like it's a horrible weapon. Why don't armies use why don't most Western armies, I would say, use gas anymore? Because gas is considered illegal by international law. The people who use gas today are evil regimes. That's the thing about that. It's like you don't think about that. Why exactly? Because they don't care. So that's so there are certain weapons that are illegal by that are illegal by international law, and like I said, it doesn't matter whether whether they're used on soldiers. Even if they're used on soldiers, not on civilians, it's still a war crime because it's considered an inhumane weapon. I see. The worst thing the Separatists did in Star Wars, uh, I'd have to think about that. Yeah, the worst thing the Separatists did in Star Wars is what Mac is saying. Probably genociding the Night Sisters. That's probably what I would say about that. Yeah, that's probably the worst thing they did. Okay, can we start a bounty here? Most evil Jedi, in your opinion? Coyote Mundi. Are there any good guys in the Killzone series? Yes. The main character in Killzone Shadowfall is a good guy who generally wants to prevent war between the two sides, and also Emperor Visari's granddaughter. You know, she's a good person also. I forget their names, but. Thank you, Pat. I sent you an invite to my posse to sell my moonshine, and I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't see the invite. I'm sorry. I'll join your posse right after this. Pro, opinion on Mace Windu. This is Mace Windu kind of represents the worst of the Jedi Order. That's what I'll say about him. Uh, the Let me see here. Sometimes the target is back here. Remember how I said earlier that the Jedi brought it on themselves what ended up happening to them? Like, I don't think the Jedi deserved it, but I think the Jedi brought it on themselves. And Mace Windu is like a perfect example of that. Now, here's the thing about Mace Windu is, Mace Windu is that type of guy. He's like... Mace Windu, I would say, was like one of the most aggressive forms of Jedi. And if Mace Windu made a mistake, if he screwed something up, he was not willing to apologize. No matter how much he screwed something up, he was just like a complete scumbag. No matter what. Like, sure, he did some good things, but he was he would not apologize no matter what. For example, if anybody's ever watched the Clone Wars TV show, when Ahsoka basically got framed for the temple bombing, Mace Windu was like one of the first few people that basically threw her under the bus and didn't take her side. And what ended up happening is when Ahsoka was actually proved innocent, Mace Windu actually refused to apologize to her. He wouldn't apologize to her. And not only would he not apologize to her, but he actually he said that it was the Force's will what was gonna happen. So basically Ahsoka getting framed and all this other stuff, it's like, oh, that's the Force's will. That was just like a test from the Force. That's what Mace Windu said. So he wouldn't apologize. He would not admit that he was wrong. I think that also, I think that the way Mace Windu also treated Anakin, I think, was really bad. I think, Anakin didn't deserve that, the treatment that he got. And I think it's definitely, like, a part of it on why he, eventually fell to the dark side. Yeah, he killed Jango Fett and didn't apologize to Boba Fett or felt any remorse for what he did. Yep, that's what I'll say. I get it that Jango Fett was trying to kill him. But it was that episode with Boba Fett. You know, when you really think about it, what did Mace Windu do to Boba Fett at the end of that episode? Is he like, how old was Boba Fett in the Clone Wars? Boba Fett was like 13 years old, right? In the Clone Wars, that's how old he was, 13, 14. And so, did he try to kill Mace Windu? Sure. But the thing about it is, what did Mace Windu do? Mace Windu sent a 13-year-old kid to a maximum security prison. That's what it, like, seriously? So that's so yeah, that's I would say that I would say, yeah, Mace Windu definitely represented a lot of the worst of the Jedi Order. And another thing about Mace Windu is if you've ever watched, like, if you ever watched Episode 3 of Star Wars, you kind of take Mace Windu's side. When Mace Windu basically refuses to promote Anakin the Jedi Master, you kind of take Mace Windu's side on that. You're like, well, you know, should he really be a master? But then if you actually watch the Clone Wars, Anakin accomplished way more during the Clone Wars than Mace Windu did. Like, he accomplished so much more, so many more battles he won than Mace Windu did during the Clone Wars. And the fact that Mace Windu is like, oh, you know, you're on this council, but we don't grant you the rank of master. It's like, you know, seriously, what the hell, dude? So, that's what I'll say about Mace Windu. I do think that Samuel Jackson did a good job, great job playing him. But like I said, is you know, that character did some pretty bad things. So would you like to come to my island in the future? We're more better than Kyrat and Hope County, according to the internet, who fanatize me with Jason. No wonder why I stay away from civilization. Thank you, Voss. Thank you for the super chat. Even Plo Koon apologized to Ahsoka. Yeah, and you have to remember one thing, that when Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order, Mace Windu blames her for it. So he takes no responsibility. He doesn't think for once that he's responsible for Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order. He instead blames her for it. And when she's talking to Mace Windu in the final season, Mace Windu says, like, oh, these matters are only for Jedi, not for citizens. So he treats her like crap. Yoda is, like, the only one on the Jedi Council that, like, still, like, is kind of sympathetic to Ahsoka and feels bad for her. But Mace Windu doesn't at all. Oh, okay, let me join you, Brandon. In your opinion, why is Vlandia the worst? Because Vlandia has, like, the most land out of any faction at the start of the game, and so it's very easy for them to expand. They're near a weaker civilization, Britannia. Like, if Vlandia wants to, they can easily conquer Britannia, and they get stronger from that. And so, like, they're you know, the Vlandians, when they're constantly declaring war on you, it gets really annoying. Thank you, Greatest Within. Hey, Pro, I realize, shouldn't Spark Brushel be called to court for the first case for involvement with shady Enigmar? Yeah, he should be, because he was there. He should have been brought in as a witness. But what I will say is do you know what I'll tell you something about the Jedi is I kind of really hated the Jedi in the Clone Wars, and for good reasons too. Is this is what I ultimately say, is the Jedi kind of brought it on themselves, because the Jedi were like the Jedi were like so scared of the dark side in Star Wars, that because they were so scared of the dark side, they ended up pushing more people to the dark side because they were so scared of it. If that makes sense. Like, for example, when like the Jedi were not supposed to have any kind of emotions, none whatsoever. You know, they were not supposed to have any kind of attachments. No, not feelings of love for anybody. That's kind of stupid, because by not having attachments, not having, like, you know, feelings of love for anybody, you are denying basic human emotions. Like, that's natural. Like, having an attachment to somebody is natural. Loving somebody is natural. And so, like, denying something like that, that's, like, basically just going against human nature. So that's what I say about the Jedi, is that they were, like, this emotionless, like, you know, people in the Clone Wars. And the worst thing that the Jedi did during the Clone Wars was taking the side of the Republic during that conflict, because the Jedi were supposed to be peacekeepers, but they went from becoming peacekeepers to being generals. And the thing about that is it worked into Palpatine's plan perfectly, because after the Clone Wars, Palpatine would say, "Oh, the Jedi were generals, like, you know, they were plotting to overthrow the Republic." So he was able to easily use that against the Jedi. So that's what I say about it, is that, like, why did the Jedi not try to stop the Clone Wars? Like, the Jedi should not have been taking a side. They should not have been taking the side of the Republic or the Separatists. They should have been right there in the middle, trying to basically stop that war from happening. The fact that they were, like, just taking the Republic's side in that conflict, that was ridiculous. So I think that ultimately a lot of the stuff that ended up happening about the Jedi, I think the Jedi brought it on themselves. You know, and I'll tell you something is do you know what I think the best Jedi were in I think that Yoda did play a part in Anakin's downfall. I definitely do think that. And I think that the advice that Yoda gave to Anakin when, like, Anakin was basically telling him that he had, like, dreams of, like, somebody close to him, like, dying. Like, when Yoda basically told Anakin, like, you have to learn to let go, I think that's, like, one of the worst advices that you can give people. Like if you have, like, visions that somebody close to you is gonna die, and, like, somebody else tells you that, like, oh, my best advice for you is to let go of that person. It's, like, one of the stupidest, things that you can possibly say. That's so dumb. So I think that Yoda was definitely in the wrong on that too. But what I will say is I think the best Jedi in the Star Wars universe. You know what I think the best? Oh, Qui-Gon was probably the best Jedi out of all of them. Qui-Gon was the most rational one, I would say, and Qui-Gon did not really believe in the Jedi Council. He thought the Jedi Council was a mistake. He thought that it was stupid. So Qui-Gon was definitely the most normal out of all of them. He was the most reasonable guy. Do you know what the best Jedi in the Star Wars universe? You know who the best Jedi were? The best Jedi in the Star Wars universe were Luke's Jedi Academy. That's what I say, Luke's Jedi Order. And when I say Luke's Jedi Order, I'm not talking about that, Disney canon stuff. I'm talking about the legend stuff. Like, before Disney took over, like, when Luke, made his own Jedi Order, I think that Luke's was, superior to the Jedi Order of the previous Republic, because of the fact that Luke believed that emotions were, like, natural, and Luke encouraged, like, the Jedi to have, like, private lives. He encouraged them to have relationships. So the thing about that is Luke was a lot more reasonable. He wasn't, like, he didn't teach his order to be like this like emotionless, like, being that the old Jedi basically taught themselves to be. And the thing about Luke is Luke's entire ideology on how the Jedi should work was very different than Yoda and, like, Obi-Wan even, because the thing about this is Yoda and Obi-Wan believed that if somebody fell to the dark side, there was no way that person could ever come back. They believed that person was gone and that person had to be destroyed and killed. But Luke, on the other hand, believed that no matter how far gone somebody has fallen, that everybody could always come back. Everybody could still do the right thing in the end. That was the difference between Luke and Yoda and Obi-Wan. And when Luke basically, got Darth Vader to change in the end, that actually surprised both Yoda and Obi-Wan, because Yoda's and Obi-Wan's ghost was both watching that scene, and they thought that Luke was going to die. They thought that Palpatine was going to kill him. They did not expect that to happen at all. So in the end, Luke was actually proven right over both Obi-Wan and Yoda in that regard too. So that's what I say is the Legends version of Luke was just so much better. Like, the thing about that is I don't understand why Disney did not just take the Legends version of Luke that they had and just put that into, like, a movie. Instead, we got this garbage with, like, Rise of Skywalker and all this other stuff that was, like, it was just so terrible. And the thing about that is, like, it's like the director, who is it? It's Kathleen Kennedy, right? It's like her, like, she has no understanding of the Star Wars lore whatsoever, like, none, because of, like, so many stupid things, I tell you, that scene when Luke tried to kill, like, Kylo Ren, or I would say Ben Solo, like, in his sleep, like when he was sleeping, and, like, Luke activated his lightsaber or was gonna kill him when he was sleeping, that was, like, the worst Star Wars scene of all time, like, 100% in my eyes. Like, that was the worst scene in all of Star Wars. Out of all the Star Wars movies, that's like the dumbest, like stupidest, like scene that they've ever done in a Star Wars movie. Is like that scene where Luke tried to kill like Ben Solo in his sleep. Like honestly, like a lot of people said that Jar Jar was like the worst thing about Episode 1, but I'd take Jar Jar 100 times over what they did to Luke in the new movies. That scene was so stupid because it goes completely against Luke's character. Because, like, you have to remember that, like, that Darth Vader was responsible for thousands of people dying. Like, thousands of murders. Thousands. And, like, you could argue that Darth Vader was even responsible for millions of deaths if you count Alderaan, if you count that as his work. So, like, Darth Vader was ultimately responsible for thousands of deaths. And, like, Luke believed that even though he was responsible for thousands of deaths, that he could still come back. He could still do the right thing. He could still, like, change. Luke believed that. And then, like, all of a sudden, in, like, the new movies in Star Wars, is, like, Luke has a vision of, like, his nephew, like, going evil and, like, falling to the dark side. And what's Luke's first thought? Luke's first thought is, oh, let me murder this guy in his sleep. Like, that was, like, the stupidest scene ever. It was so dumb. Like, the old Luke would have never considered doing something like that. He would have never thought about killing somebody in their sleep. Even if Luke had a vision that somebody was going to fall to the dark side, he would have never done something like that. He would have never done something like that scene. So that's what I honestly hated about the new Star Wars movies. Like, they completely ruined the lore. It was just dumb. And it's like, somehow Palpatine has returned. Yeah, that was just stupid. And I know people are explaining how Palpatine returned with that Bad Batch stuff right now, like the clone and stuff like that. But here's the thing is, in Legends, Palpatine returned also. But when Palpatine returned in Legends, they had a whole explanation of how that happened. He also had like a clone body. But in the new movies, it was like somehow Palpatine returned. They didn't even explain how it happened. It was like the dark side gives access to many things considered unnatural, and now they're explaining it with like the whole Bad Batch thing. So that's what I say is like those. I cannot stand the new Disney movies. Honestly, I wish that George Lucas would just take Star Wars Disney back and just make all that not canon, like all of it. Like honestly, you know what I would have preferred? I would have preferred if they made like a new trilogy of movies about the Yuuzhan Vong like invading the Star Wars galaxy, the Yuuzhan Vong. Like I would have much rather preferred they do that than doing like the First Order Resistance crap. For people that don't know what the Yuuzhan Vong are, the Yuuzhan Vong are basically the Yuuzhan Vong are basically based on the Mongolians in Star Wars. That's what they are. So like you know how the Empire is based on Nazi Germany in Star Wars. The Yuuzhan Vong are basically based on the Mongolians in Star Wars. They come from a different galaxy. They are they're a civilization that comes from a different galaxy. They're alien conquerors. They're coming in. They're conquering the galaxy. They're killing a lot of planets off. And what's happening is both the Empire and the Republic end up teaming up together to stop the Yuuzhan Vong in like the Legends. So honestly, I would have preferred if they did that. Like in the new movies, instead of like doing this this crap with like the First Order and the Resistance and all this other stuff. Like I think it's dumb. Let me see here. I never played Far Cry 3. Do you like Warhammer 40,000 Universe? I've never actually played those games before. Random Fist, thank you for the super chat. Maybe I'll play Republic Commando one day. The greatest Star Wars PC game, Ace Assault 2. I don't think I've played that one. Thank you, Blinded Eagle. You keep missing my point, which I've been asking since the stream start. I've missed multiple streams, so please notice being my man. I'd love to talk to you again in so long. I'm sorry, Blade of Stars. What's your question? If you're still here, what's your question? What do you want to ask me? You don't have to make a super chat for me to read your comment, Blade of Stars. I was just replying to a bunch of people about the Star Wars stuff. Thank you for sponsoring my channel. Thank you, Sheep Tacos. But how do I say your name? That's like, thank you for sponsoring the channel. Please, professional, I need a friend. I could add you, Solomon. Can you tell me what your PSN is? I could add you after the stream. When do I play Max Payne 3? I could probably do it later this year. Thank you, FTV10. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Chrysler. Ned Luke is playing GTA 4 and says it's all boring and prefers GTA 5 as it's comedic and has action. Why people say GTA 4 is boring compared to GTA 5? I think he's probably saying that mostly because he played in GTA 5. You know, he played the main actor, so it'd be kind of weird for him to say that GTA 4 would be better than GTA 5. But, you know, you can say that GTA 5 is better than GTA 4, but to say GTA 4 is boring, I think that's going a bit too far. GTA 4 was an awesome game, and I like the dark atmosphere of GTA 4 personally. Okay. Thank you, FTV. Oh, got a collectible right here, too. Well, they actually were making a Sleeping Dogs sequel before it got canceled. That actually did happen. It was called Triad Wars. You said about Star Wars Battlefront 2? Yeah, I am Emperor Rick Astley. I'm making a clone trooper named Ghost. He uses stealth tech. He had his clone chip, forget the actual name removed, and fights against the Empire. Should he just die natural or in battle? You pick. Natural. I think that, you know, the thing is, though, I like one thing I like about Dave Filoni is like a lot of directors in like movies, not just like in Star Wars, but a lot of directors in movies where if they make like prequel characters to like something, a lot of times they will have those prequel characters killed off because like they don't appear in the new movies. But like I like what Dave Filoni did, that like the prequel characters are there, they're just like somewhere else at the time of that other movie in the background. So like not every character is to be killed off. You think that's stupid that the First Order and Resistance look at the Star Wars crossover of Disney properties? What do you mean, Zach? Manix is Pie Man. It was Pie Day yesterday. Oh, those are pies? Oh, okay. I was a bit confused. After Ace Attorney, you should play Danganronpa. I have a lot of people who are recommended me that I play that game. I could look into it. What do I think of Thrawn? I think that Thrawn is a very smart and talented commander. And the thing about Thrawn is, I would say that Thrawn does not needlessly sacrifice the lives of his soldiers like a lot of the other Imperial commanders do. So I would say about Thrawn is that with Thrawn is that if you're under Thrawn's command and Thrawn gives you an order, do it. Whatever order he gives you, you do it. Even if you think it's a really stupid order, do it, because it'll probably save your life. Hang on a second. Let me just get my charger here. One moment, guys. 1 second here. Controller died. Bad luck here. No, I haven't read the Thrawn books. Is Thrawn evil or just following orders? I wouldn't say that Thrawn is evil, but I wouldn't say he's a good guy either. I would say he leans more towards being a bad guy, but he's not like completely evil. Hey, Pro, how are you? You busy with school? By the way, I tried calling my job at the restaurant, but they never answer. I don't think they want me anymore. Yeah, like, that's the thing is, like, if you have, like, if you put in, like, a job application at, like, a PlayStation fanboy, and they don't respond to you, like, just don't, I wouldn't say even bother calling them back, because they're just not worth your time. You know, they're scumbags for not calling you back, and so that's, like, you know, I would just apply somewhere else. I wouldn't even bother. Because I had I'm sure you remember this story, but like, you know, I would say like 12 years ago when I was applying for like my first job, my friend got a job at this burger restaurant, and what happened is he told me, like, you know, why don't you apply, like, you know, I'll put in a good word for you, and I applied for the job, and I went to go meet with the manager of the place. I remember I met with her at a hotel lobby. and we basically discussed like the job offer, and I talked to her for maybe like half an hour. And then what ended up happening is I was very straightforward with her. I told her that, this is my first job. And, I told her I'll try my best, and I'm willing to learn, and I think I would be a great fit for your company. And, she told me, oh, yeah, that's good, all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then I told her, like, if you don't hire me, you'll let me know, right? You'll let me know if you don't hire me, if you don't choose me. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll let you know. And what ends up happening is she never called me back, never even attempted to contact me. And then what ends up happening is she actually calls up my friend and tells him, like, do you have anybody else like any other friends that have, like, more experience? So she knew from that interview that she was not going to hire me. Like, when we started talking even for a few minutes, she knew she wasn't going to hire me. But instead of telling me that straight to my face, like, I don't think you're a good fit for this company, she instead, like, just told me, oh, let me think about it, let me consider it, blah, 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 this. And honestly, I hate that stuff. I hate behavior like that. Like, if you're not gonna hire me, I'd rather, like, you tell me straightforward up, I don't think you're a good addition for my company, but, like, leaving me in the loop like that, like, doing something like that's just scummy. Like, that's so scum. So that's, let's say, is that, don't worry about people like that. People are scummy. And it's not worth your time, calling people back up like that. I've applied to so many jobs the last few weeks, I haven't gotten a single response. I hear you, man. It's just, it's kind of unfortunate. It's like the economy's really crap right now. But have you by any chance like thought about like doing like like a delivery app in the meantime while you're like trying to like apply for your job? Like, I mean, I'm talking about maybe like DoorDash, or like there are apps out there that I think like you can deliver packages for Amazon, like stuff like that. I know they don't pay you that well, but there are she didn't want to hurt your feelings. Well, she hurt my feelings way more by like by talking to my friend behind my back and telling him to like send somebody in who has more experience. I get what you mean, Art, but it's like I think that she personally handled it wrong and did it badly. But like there are apps out there that like you can make like some money on the side, through like deliveries and stuff like that. And that's one of my biggest regrets in retail is I should have just quit retail and just did nothing but DoorDash and Uber Eats. That's what I should have done. I should not have done retail, and I should have just done Uber Eats. That's what I honestly should have done. Maybe I wouldn't have made as much money as retail, but I would have had a lot less stress and a lot less BS to do with, and I could set my schedule, do it whenever I wanted. That's what I'll say about it. I could do that, Mac, one day, like a video on Project MK Ultra, yeah. Who are the best lightsaber Siths? Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Palpatine, despite him not using his lightsaber a lot. Or an Uber driver. Honestly speaking, I don't think I could be an Uber driver, because I have seen so many horror stories of, like, Uber drivers where they have some really rude, like, passengers, so I don't think I would be able to handle something like that personally. I wouldn't want to deal with people like that. You speak my name, what is it, professional? Darth Vader. You should do a video on your experience on truck nights. Oh, I could do that one day. I could, and the thing is, I could probably do a video just talking an hour about truck nights. That's like, just because of how crap it was. I know you don't play Fortnite, but me personally, I'd be down to see a Red Dead Redemption crossover with Vanderlyn Gang, Skin Bundle, or a Rockstar Classics. I don't think that Rockstar would ever allow any kind of bundle for any of their games in, like, another game. I don't think they would ever, Uber isn't that bad. You shouldn't be scared by the internet, I guess. But I will tell you though that I have taken a bunch of I've taken Uber rides as like a passenger, but When I took Uber rides as a passenger, I remember I usually talk to my Uber drivers, and I usually take Uber as a passenger when I have to go to the airport. That's usually when I take them. But I usually talk to the Uber driver, ask them, how their day is going and stuff like that. And I've heard some horror stories of, like, some things. I heard this one horror story this one driver told me about how this one woman basically demanded that he pull over at some store, and she was shopping for, like, an hour while he was sitting in the car. So that was, like, I can imagine that would get really annoying. Though, the coolest story that I ever heard, now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I had an Uber driver once tell me that he drove 50 Cent. That's what he told me. And he told me that 50 Cent was in town and that he picked up a client and he didn't realize it was 50 Cent until he got in the car. And I asked him, what 50 Cent is like as a person. He says he's a very chill, nice guy. That's what he told me. So I don't know if he was BSing me or if he was telling me the truth, but he told me he drove 50 Cent once. I sent it to you on Twitter, Pro. She was calling the bill racist and the people who passed it. Wait, what bill is this, Mario? Thank you for the super chat. I'm not really going to talk into politics, 'cause I don't really get involved in that stuff, but I guess I'll look at what you sent me a little bit later. I was told that a driver should not tell any customers about other customers they've had. I don't know. Whenever I've talked to Uber drivers, they're usually pretty open about the type of customers they have. Like, I usually when I'm getting driven by them, I ask them, have you ever had any annoying customers? And, usually they tell me a story. So... Thoughts about the Halo TV show? Oh, I haven't actually watched it. I will tell you something. I saw a scene of, like, the Halo TV show where, like, a soldier got hit by the needler gun, and then afterwards he just disappeared. Like, he vanished. Like, it's like he disintegrated after getting hit by the needler gun. But, like, doesn't the needler in, like, Halo blow you up? Like, you get hit with enough needles, doesn't it explode? It doesn't make you disintegrate, it actually explodes. But that was, I know there were some fans that really didn't like it. I think the new season of the Halo TV show's improved, but I know some fans really didn't like it. Thank you, Emperor Rick Astley. Have I ever played the Lego Star Wars games? Yes, I have. When I was a kid, I did play some of them. Well, I think of Baron Van Zeeks. I think Zeeks was a decent guy at heart. He just went through a lot of crap before the game started. That's why he was like that. Pro, should I work as a lawn crew pet sitter to earn or work at retail? Honestly, probably the best job would be pet sitter. If you're good with pets, that probably would be the best job there. Here's the thing. Retail, you're going to have to deal with really annoying customers and probably scummy management, and you're not going to get paid a lot. Lawn work, you might get paid more than retail, but you're going to have to work in the hot sun. And that's going to suck. Being outside for that many hours, doing all that manual work, it's going to suck. I know it was Strongheart's fault. Did you know Bruce Lee's favorite game is Sleeping Dogs? Did Bruce Lee even play video games? Probably James Earl Cash, but if Leo was in control, it probably would be a tie. What is my favorite criminal faction in the GTA universe? Probably the Lost MC. Some people cut lawns for free, you know, on YouTube. Yeah, I've seen some of those videos. Yes, I will replay Dead Rising. When is a group project video coming out? That'll be my next channel update. So I'll, maybe 2 weeks from now. Yeah, Leo reminded me of, Leo reminded me a bit of Gary, yeah. Oh, I just fell in the mud, too. Look at this. Who do I think is the most evil Star Wars character, not counting Palpatine? That'll be a hard one to think about. Maybe the Emperor in the Old Republic era. Yeah, Tarkin was pretty bad, too. Yeah, Tarkin was a really bad guy. No, I haven't, Fernando. I haven't heard about that. What is your thoughts on the Chinese government killing hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs in northwest China? For me, it's absolutely morbid. I think it's really horrible what's happening. They have these creepy, horrible like re-education camps, and it's the fact that so many like celebrities and the media doesn't want to talk about it. That's what's so heartbreaking about it. Pro, did you get monetized from both Manhunt games? I actually, Manhunt, my entire Manhunt 2 playthrough was monetized. I didn't have one part that was demonetized. Some of the Manhunt 1 videos had been demonetized, but Manhunt 2 had been largely, Manhunt 2 had been largely monetized. What's your opinion on General Krell? I believe he's the most scumbag Jedi out there. He abused the clones during the Umbara theater. What's your opinion on the Umbarans? Well, the Umbarans were basically pissed about their senator being murdered. I'm thinking getting a PS4 soon. Well, if you can, you know, save up a little bit more money and get a PS5, because eventually developers are going to stop making PS4 games. PS5 is like, you know, something you're going to have for many years to come. What do I think of General Grievous? I think that, oh, we need more materials here, too. Oh, wait, no, we have 100. Okay. About General Grievous is, General Grievous' planet. When Grievous wasn't a cyborg, he was actually a warlord, and his planet had been invaded, by this other, you know, alien species. They were like an insect species, and they were, like, killing his people. And Grievous led his people to victory. He defeated the enemy who was attacking him, and he invaded their planet. And those same people who were attacking Grievous then called for the Republic's help. And they took the other side's side, and they attacked Grievous. And that's why Grievous hates the Republic. They chose the wrong side of that conflict.
Did I ever tell you about the time I stowed away on a ship and ended up imprisoned by the Sultanate of Sulu? No? Well, remind me later. It's a corker. Anyway, business first. Time to make a sale. The buyer's not local, but we're getting a good price, so should be worth the ride. Just be careful.
Oh, the Hawk was the name of the bug's aliens. Oh, okay. And so wasn't I right, Own Titan, that they were basically killing Revis's people? Thoughts on Grand Admiral Oswald Tashik? Was he wrongly executed? Who was that again? Thank you, King of Killing. Thank you for sponsoring my channel for 4 months. Thank you, man. Why do you think Jabba the Hutt was so powerful? Oh, simple. Because he had money and connections. Thank you, Dragon Fury. I probably would not want to go for Jedi training, Kevin. Would you say the CIS were in the right? According to a lot of Star Wars YouTubers, besides the leadership, they for the most part were in the right. Yeah. I actually was talking about that earlier. I talked about that like an hour ago. But yeah, I do think that the CIS were in the right in Star Wars, yeah. What's your opinion on Clovis? Oh, Rush Clovis? He made some poor decisions early on, and unfortunately he was played and manipulated by Dooku. He wanted to do the right thing in the end, but he was manipulated by Dooku. I kind of actually felt bad for him dying. Like, a lot of people didn't care for him dying because of just the fact that that he wanted to have a relationship with Padme, but you have to remember at the same time that he wasn't aware that Anakin was in a relationship with her. So I kind of felt bad for Clovis and what ended up happening to him. Would I rather live in the Red Dead universe or GTA Online? Oh. That's a tough one. Probably GTA Online and just move as far away from Los Santos as I can. Do you still play the new Battlefront games? What, you mean like the 2017 one? Yeah, I've been playing them. I know that, man, but I can't personally find a PS5, just another upgrade to the PS4 and overrated whatever. I can't play. I can always watch right here on YouTube, and you didn't answer on Modern Warfare. Here's the thing about Call of Duty is Call of Duty has crossplay, and it can be a fun game to play, but if you have friends, if you're playing by yourself, it could get boring. So if you have friends to play with, you know, I would say, you know, get Call of Duty if you have friends to play with and you like the game, but if you don't really know any people on the game, I mean, you could always make friends in the game, but yeah, they really messed up the Star Wars Battlefront remaster. They messed it up. What was the most hilarious moment in Courage the Cowardly Dog? I think I know. I think the funniest, I think the funniest moment in Courage the Cowardly Dog, it was that one episode. I don't remember the what's your offer is kind of funny too with King Ramses when Eustace is like, what's your offer? That's kind of funny. But I thought the funniest one was, if anybody knows the name of the episode, it's that one episode where it's like Eustace and Courage go to like that diner to like have that burger, and what happens is that that Courage is like convinced that the people at the diner, like that the pigs there are like killing people and like, you know, putting them into the burgers, into the meat, And it's because Courage has just met all these really horrible people that he's like convinced something, his paranoia is getting to him. He thinks something bad is happening, and so he runs away. And at the end of the episode, you find out that the owners of the restaurant actually were not bad people and didn't mean him any ill will. They were actually just wanted to give him a burger. That was just basically what it was. They were just the reason that the people's faces were in the burgers was because they were just sculpting them. They weren't killing them. But that's that was, I thought that was kind of funny. That was called Heads of Beef. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't start the posse. Then my bad. I'm sorry then. Yeah, but the thing about that is, a show like Courage the Cowardly Dog would never be allowed on kids' TV today. Like, the cartoons that I watched as a kid are very different than the cartoons today. Were they either on Star Cards or Shark Cards? Star Cards, because Star Cards, like, they're not broken like they were at launch because you work for them and you upgrade them today. That's, like... Shark cards are just microtransactions. You can't buy star cards, you earn them in the game. You think it's gonna be hard to make money in GTA 6? In the campaign, probably not. In the multiplayer, probably yes. Love how you don't consider the sequel trilogy canon. Yeah, I don't like the new movies. I know I've asked you this question months ago, but when I make a video what states in Red Dead Redemption 2 are based on in real life, yeah, I could probably do that. I mean, the Heartlands is pretty much based on the Midwest. Like, I would say, like, Nebraska, you know, South Dakota, maybe Iowa. Lemoyne is Louisiana. I would say Roanoke Ridge is probably, like, North Carolina, maybe Virginia. And the Amberino is probably, I would say, like, Montana and Idaho. Which Star Wars planet would I like to live on? Oh, Felucia. No, I'm joking. Felucia is such a toxic planet. What planet would I like to live on in Star Wars? Definitely not Alderaan. Maybe Naboo. Naboo would probably be a nice place to live. No, actually, probably. I think I'd probably choose Raxus to live on. Probably, Raxus seems like a nice planet too. Yeah, the Renault colony, zombie fanatic. I'll have a video on that one day. What about Hoth? Yeah, no, thank you. What's your opinion on the modded accounts being banned permanently? I think that banning them is going a bit too far. I think if anything, just take away their money. Thank you, King of Killing. Thank you for the super chat. Because the thing about this is, if you ban somebody's, like, account, like, not... If you take away their money, chances are they'll still probably play. But if you just ban them completely, they're probably not going to play ever again. Thoughts... And honestly speaking, here's the thing about this, is Rockstar is banning these modders, but they're not going to ban the people that use God mode. Constantly. Thoughts on David Scantino, the gambling addict in The Sopranos? While we would want to be in his position, he brought it on himself. Yeah, a lot of that was his fault, but here's the thing is, that character was the best advertisement why you should never gamble. Like, that is a very realistic character and the perfect example of, like, why you never gamble. What's a city you'd like to see in a crime game that hasn't been used before? Thank you, Antonio, for the super chat. I have to think about that. A city I'd like to see. A city that hasn't been used before in a crime game. Well, Boston we had in Assassin's Creed 3. Seattle we had an Infamous Second Son. Detroit we've never had in a open world crime game. Well, I mean, unless you count Manhunt, but that's not open world. That's Carson City, but that's based on Detroit. I don't know. I have to think about maybe like seeing like a city in like Japan, like Tokyo, in like an open world crime game. Well, Chicago we had Watch Dogs. What's your opinion on Pre-Vizsla and Bo-Katan? I don't think Death Watch's like goals were necessarily like bad, like trying to restore the Mandalorian warrior culture, but it was more bad about how they went about it. What are your thoughts about the movie Oppenheimer? I actually never got the chance to see Oppenheimer, but I know about Oppenheimer. I know a little bit about the actual historical figure, though. Jonathan Perez, thank you for the super chat. One thing I'll say about Oppenheimer is here's the thing about Oppenheimer is Oppenheimer had a good heart, but at the same time is I would say there are things that he clearly doesn't understand, because he might be a scientist, but he doesn't understand I would say he doesn't understand how foreign relations work. That's what I would put it at the same time too, because Oppenheimer, I would say the stupidest thing that Oppenheimer did in real life was Oppenheimer believed that if the U.S. did not build the atomic bombs, that the Soviet Union wouldn't either. That's what he believed. He believed that if America didn't build the atomic bombs, no other country would. That's what he believed. And that's a very stupid view to have personally, like thinking that, oh, if we don't build this, horrible weapon, the enemy isn't gonna either. Well, not really, no. Imagine if the Soviet Union built nuclear weapons, but the U.S. didn't have nuclear weapons. The Cold War would have been over, and it would have been over really badly. So that's that's what I'll say about it. It's like thinking that the Soviet Union isn't gonna build nuclear weapons because the U.S. wouldn't. That's a very stupid thought process to have. Wait, so you're saying the Phase 2 armor is actually weaker than the Phase 1? Yeah, maybe one day I'll play Alan Wake. I know people had requested it a lot. I would be open to a new Midnight Club game. Wow, look at those clouds. Red Dead's weather effects are definitely good. What great Ace Attorney Chronicles character did you feel bad for the most? Probably Gina. Honestly, I hope GTA 6 would not just be about heist and that we could explore Vice City's criminal underworld. Oh, I'm sure you'll be able to, Mr. Nowhere. Thank you for the super chat. I actually have a GTA 6 video coming out, but the GTA 6 video that I have coming out is gonna be on April 1st. That's the only thing that I'll tell you about it. I think people have a pretty good idea of what I'll do, but let me see here. I'll play the driver games one day. Okay, let me see here. Did I watch American Psycho? No, I didn't. You're the only YouTuber that doesn't spam and milk GTA 6 clickbait crap, and I salute you for it, my good sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jibs. Thank you, man. Let me go to my Moonshine Shack here. I'll tell you guys, I'm gonna have a fan theory, I'm gonna have a lore video on GTA 6 on April 1st. And that lore video, just think about that. It's gonna be a lore video on April 1st on GTA 6, analyzing something. That's what it's gonna be. Just think about why it would be on April 1st too, but it's gonna be, that'll be, the only thing I'll say about that.
Okay, bon. Would you be able to drive this out to our buyers? I'll load it up myself. Just keep an eye for those revenue men, huh? I like you.
Well, Star Wars, you're talking about the, the E5, isn't that the Imperial Blaster, the E5? Yes, Ace Apollo part tomorrow, yes.
Anyhow, bon chance. Drive safe.
Where's the wagon? Oh, is it not here? Did it not spawn? I think it didn't spawn. Yeah, I would give a lot more choices in Fallout 4, honestly. Oh, E11 is the Imperial one. I think the Imperial Blaster is probably my favorite one in the Star Wars universe because I like how it has a little scope on it too. Okay. Bro, did I ever play Skyrim back in the day? Oh yeah, I did. I got a Platinum Trophy in Skyrim back in September. I guess, but Zombie Fanatic, what they could have done in Manhunt 1 is they could have just made it where there's very little bullets, but the guns are very effective, but there's just very little bullets. I'm not sure on that, DK Mock. Order 66, whatever happened there. What was the most idiotic thing I've seen a person doing? You talking about real life, or you talking about on a video? If you're seeing the stupidest thing that I've ever seen somebody do in a video, on a YouTube video that I've seen, is I saw a video of this cop arresting a woman, and I don't remember what the cop arrested her for. It's a viral video, but what the cop did was he put her in the back of his squad car, and here's the thing about this. He handcuffed her, put her in the back of his squad car, and he left the squad car on railroad tracks. On railroad tracks. That was the stupidest thing that I've seen a cop do on YouTube. And what happened was a train came by and hit the car. There's a YouTube video of it. And the woman ended up surviving, but she's suing the department now. And that's the stupidest thing I've seen. That you put somebody in handcuffs and you leave them in the car that's on the railroad tracks. One of the dumbest things that I heard. If you're talking about what's the stupidest thing I've seen somebody do in real life, I'd have to think about that one. What's my favorite starfighter from Star Wars? Probably the Sabbath starfighters, the separatist Sabbath starfighters in Starfighter, in Jedi Starfighter. I would have to think about that. The dumbest thing that I've ever seen, somebody do. Oh, I got it for you guys. The stupidest thing I've ever seen somebody do in real life. I have the answer for you now. So basically, what happened is, I was working a truck night once when I was working in retail. And when I was working the truck night, I pulled into the parking lot for my store, and I saw that the truck was parked at a weird angle. It wasn't like parked like towards the door, because the truck would usually be parked towards the door because we didn't really have a good back door, so we would just use the front door to basically put all the stuff in. And so this truck, it was like parked at a weird angle, like more inner in the parking lot. And I see, like, boxes of stuff all over the floor. Like, just boxes on the floor that was, like, from the truck shipment. And there's, like, shampoo bottles on the floor spilled. There's, like, toothpaste all over the place. There's, like, just boxes destroyed of stuff just all over the parking lot. And I asked my supervisor, like, what happened? And he basically says to me that the truck driver did not want to park the truck in front of the store and didn't want to use our ramp to unlift the, because we had like a little ramp that we would use to unlift the pallets. He's like, the truck driver didn't want to park where I told him to park. He didn't want to use the ramp, and instead he wanted to bring the pallets down on his own. He didn't want help, and the pallet snapped, it fell off, and all this stuff just fell into the parking lot and just like cracked and spilled over. And here's the thing about this, is he brings out a second pallet. And the second pallet that he brings out, the exact same thing happens. And this time I was there. The thing snapped, and all the boxes fell off like a second pallet. It just snapped, all the boxes fall off, stuff gets crushed, like, food gets all over the parking lot floor. It's, shampoo bottles, toothpaste again. And guess what? Guess who had to clean that up? Yep, that's right, me. I cleaned that stuff up around the parking lot. And then, do you know what ended up happening? Like, half an hour later, he's bringing out another pallet. And the same thing happens. It snaps again. He doesn't want to use the ramp. He doesn't want to help. And literally the same thing happens. The third pallet snaps. A bunch of boxes fall in the parking lot. Everything gets smashed. All that stuff. Like, we're talking like thousands of dollars of merchandise that had gotten smashed at this point. And I had to clean that stuff up. And do you know what the truck driver says? The truck driver says, okay, maybe I'll do it your way this time. I'll park in front of the store. And I was basically like thinking like this at this point. Like, 3 pallets of stuff just wasted and just destroyed. I think that's probably the dumbest thing that I've seen anybody do in real life. That was just so stupid. Oh yeah, I remember that Clone 99. He wasn't fit for battle, but he still wanted to help. I remember him too. 16 times the face palm. Thank you, Aris Harbinger. Thanks for the super chat. I'll tell you guys, the stupidest thing I've seen people do in video games, the dumbest things ever. I have a friend, yeah, he's still my friend, but this happened like many years ago. I'm not gonna make any names, but basically what happened is, one of my friends was selling one of his MC businesses in GTA Online. This was not on stream. This was, we're just in a lobby, and I told my friend, like, listen, I'll help you sell, like, the MC business. And I remember he was selling the cocaine business too. That's what he was selling. It was the one in Sandy Shores, the one right near the Alamo Sea. And I told him, I'll help you sell. He's like, no, I don't need help. I don't need help. I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. Like, I'm like, I can help you. No, I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. And the thing about this is, the main reason he didn't want me to help him is because I guess he was probably scared that then he would feel obligated to help me. But I didn't even want help selling a business. I just wanted to help him. And do you know what ends up happening? He gets that mission with 4 bikes by himself. And while he's in the process of delivering his second bike, do you know what happens? Some griefer goes over to the cocaine lab and just blows up the other 2 bikes that are parked. And he loses like half his shipment. And then he starts raging at that point, just like all pissed. And like, I literally said to him, like, I'm like, dude, like, I was gonna help you sell. Like, you should have taken my offer to help me sell. And then he just basically calls me an a-hole and just leaves the party and goes offline. That's like one of the stupidest things I've seen somebody do in a game too. That was stupid. So that was a dumb thing. If I would have helped him sell, that stuff wouldn't have gotten destroyed. So that was a dumb thing that I've seen somebody do. But the dumbest, do you know what the stupidest thing that I've seen somebody do once is, there was when I used to do those public streams in GTA Online, I would have people that would constantly keep trying to join into my session to grief me. And what these people would do is they would send like messages to people. And the messages that they would send to people, they would say like, "Oh, can you add me? Like, I just want to help sell." And like people like that were in my lobby would just add them. And they would join in the lobby and they would grief. And I told people several times during the streams, I said, if you don't know who somebody is, don't add them. Like, if you're even like 1% unsure of who they are, don't add them. That's what I would always tell people that. And what happened is, there was this guy who like joined in once, and he had some like really stupid name. Like, it was like XX Liz Orbital XX Liz, whatever the hell it was. It was like some stupid like garbage name. And what happened is, there was one guy in my lobby that was on my friends list who added him. And after the stream ended, I messaged that guy, and I said, because I was checking people's friends list to see, who added that guy. And I messaged the guy on my friends list. I'm like, why did you add this guy into the lobby? And you know what happened? When the guy joined the lobby, he orbital cannoned me. And I messaged the guy, and I say, why did you add him? And do you know what the guy says to me? He says to me, he sent me a message saying that he was friendly and he wanted to help sell. And I was like this. I was like, did you even look at what his PSN name was? That's what I was thinking. Like, that's probably one of the stupidest things I've seen people do on GTA. Like, the guy, I wouldn't say that the guy wasn't like a griefer because he's never griefed before, that guy who added him. He's never caused any problems, but he just added the first guy who sent him a message, who sent him a friend request, and he didn't even think about reading his name. But it was like, you think the Jedi got free soft drinks of choice, huh? Reference to The Sopranos. Okay, finally got some better cards here now. I think Crosshair was just completely convinced that he was fighting for a good cause, and that's what basically he was made for, and it doesn't excuse what he did, but he yeah, I guess that's about him. He did manage to see how horrible the Empire was in the end. What happened afterwards? Oh, I didn't delete him or anything, but I just told him to remove the guy from his friends list, and he did. Didn't you say that someone dropped something on your foot in retail and you couldn't feel it the next day? Yes, I remember that. We were working on a truck night, and my idiot coworker, what he was doing is he was taking the bars off of the, there's like those, I think they're called U-boats, those like things you push, and he was taking the bars out of that, and those bars are really heavy. Like the bars, because basically it's like 3 bars together, so it's like this round U thing with like, 1 bar in the middle and like 2 bars here. It's extremely heavy. And so basically he took that, and he was rushing on the belt with like a bunch of stuff, and I told him like, don't rush, and he was still rushing. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he dropped that on my foot. So that's what I'll say about it. That was a terrible experience too. It was another really stupid thing that somebody did. Can you please tell a story about the one coworker who listens to Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon? Well, he listened to I don't think he listened to Fallon, but he did listen to Kimmel, and he did listen to Samantha Bee. It was Kimmel and Samantha Bee. And the thing about this guy is, this guy, I didn't like him, because I wouldn't say that he was, like, rude, but the reason that I didn't like him is because what this guy would do is, we were working the truck night, and so it would be like 4 o'clock in the morning unloading this huge heavy truck, and do you know what he would be doing? He would be blasting on his phone on speaker, like he would be pushing his little cart of like stuff while he was working in the aisles, and he would be listening on his phone on speaker mode. He had like Jimmy Kimmel and Samantha Bee, and he would just be blasting that all night long. Those annoying late night show comedians. I just could not stand like listening to that. It was annoying me. Like, if you're gonna listen to that, I don't care, but at least like, put on headphones, put on like earbuds, something, just so I don't have to hear that. And what got really annoying is he wouldn't just stop there. Like, he would just endlessly talk politics like all night long, and I just did not want to hear it. I'm just there just to do the truck and just go home. I don't want to hear about what some late night talk show host is like saying. Like, I don't want to listen to that crap. But he was constantly talking about that all night long, and it was annoying. And the thing about this guy is, this guy was the type of guy, like I said, he wasn't like rude, but he was the type of guy who was like, who would not stop talking. That's what I'll say about it. Like, he would just talk about like the dumbest things ever, like constantly, like over and over again. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like if he was ringing up like a Milky Way bar, like a Milky Way chocolate bar, or no, it was a Three Musketeers bar. Like, when he was ringing up a Three Musketeers bar for a customer, once it was like a single bar of chocolate that they were buying, he starts like an entire conversation about like how Three Musketeers formed as a company, and like, where they were located and all this other stuff. So that's, so he literally was just talking, like, nonsense about stuff like that. Just irrelevant things that, like, nobody cared about. And the thing about this guy is, he told us that he used to work for Geico and that he used to sell insurance. And I said to him, like, why did you stop working for Geico? And he's like, they fired me. And I said, like, what did they fire you for? And he's like, they fired me for being too nice. I'm like, they fired you for being too nice? Like, I never heard of something like that. That's like, I think they fired him because he wouldn't stop talking about dumb things. That's why I think they fired him personally. But that was That was what. And listen, I don't care. I don't care what somebody's political views are. It doesn't really matter to me. But if I'm gonna be working like a late night truck night, like I don't want to listen to your stupid late night show comedians, and I don't want to hear your political nonsense all night long. That's what I'll say about it. So that's I just don't want to listen to it. I mean, who wants to listen to some annoying late night show comedians where you're like half asleep unloading some heavy truck? So he's Meekins. Well, now that I think about it, maybe he's kind of like him. He's not as loud as him, but it's uh, damn, he had the 9. I would have won that if he didn't have the 9. Oh well. Mhm. 3 and 2. Do I still eat processed foods? Remind me again of what processed foods are again. What kind of food is that? Just give me an example again. Oh, somebody made a $5 bet. Oh, I'm not betting $5 on this 3 and 2. That sucks. Why do I think Tony killed the maid man? It was an order as a Salvatore. Wow, look at those cards. An ace and a king. Yeah, good thing I didn't bet. Any food that has been altered in preparation is processed food. Okay, can you give me an example of a processed food, though? Like, what do you mean? Like... Oh, who do I think he killed? Somebody from the Sindako or Farelli family. Processed foods, for example, bagged chips, cookies. I haven't eaten potato chips in like 2-3 months. I actually have improved my health by doing that. No, I'm not ignoring you. There's a lot of people that are freezing, canning. Oh, I eat canned foods, and I eat frozen foods sometimes too. Are noodles like bad for you though? Because I've eaten a lot of noodles before. The thing I like about eating noodles is it's like a late night snack that you can have. You know, you just have like a warm bowl, and like it's really simple and easy to make. So like even if you're tired, exhausted, and you don't want to cook something, you can make that. That's what I've always liked about them. How could one become familiar with your community in GTA? Well, we don't really have a. I wouldn't say the community is really my YouTube channel. Like we don't really use the crews anymore. There's PlayStation communities aren't there anymore. Hey, Pro, how are you? I'm good, Outcast. How are you, man? Oh, about M&Ms. I have a horror story to tell you about M&Ms. There was this customer once when I worked in retail, and she was complaining to me about the stupidest thing. You know what she was complaining to me about? She was basically complaining to me that there was an M&M's bag found in the Milky Way section. So where there was a Milky Way chocolate, somebody put an M&M's bag there, and she was complaining about that. And then like she showed me her M&M's jacket. She had like an M&M's jacket. She's like, "Look at this. This. It's like you got nothing on this." Like she's just saying that to me, and I was like, she's like, "You disrespected M&M's," and I was like, "Are you okay?" Like I was just like thinking like, is there that was that. But it's honestly, it sounds like something I made up, but I'm serious. I did it. That really happened. Like she actually had an M&M's jacket, and she was just complaining to me about like M&M's being in the Milky Way section. But that's why do customers complain about dumb stuff? Because unfortunately, there's dumb people out there. But I'll tell you guys a story of my manager being an idiot once. He was actually being kind of stupid. Now this manager, he was the second manager. He was a nicer guy, more compassionate, understanding, but at times he was a bit stupid, and this is a perfect example of it. There was this customer that what he would do is he would go into the chocolate aisle where the candy was, and what he would do is he would take a random chocolate bar, he would eat half of it, and then he would stick the other half of the chocolate some random place in the store. Like he would just shove it in shelves. And when I was cleaning up the store, I would wear gloves, and I would just get that piece of like chocolate. It was disgusting, and I would just get rid of it. And I probably cleaned up like 30 chocolate bars. Just over time, like many months, because the guy was just constantly like, eating like a chocolate bar, wouldn't pay for it, and would just shove it somewhere in a shelf. And what happened was my manager actually caught the guy who did it, and he showed me a video of him catching him. So my manager actually caught the guy who was who was doing it. And what he did was he banned him from the store. He said, "Don't come back to the store or we're going to call the police." Now, a few weeks later, that same guy who was eating the chocolate bars, I saw him in the store a few weeks later. And I immediately called my manager. And I say to him, the guy's in the store. And the manager's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And I'm like, "Isn't he banned from the store?" It's like, "No, we're not going to ban him anymore." And I said to him, "But like, didn't you say that the guy was banned from the store? He stole so many chocolate bars. He ate so many chocolate bars." And the manager, what the manager tells me? The manager tells me, "Yeah, but we don't really want him to call corporate and complain." And I was like thinking to myself, I was like, "Are you stupid?" I was like, are you dumb or something? Like when he said that. Like, literally, who cares if the guy calls corporate and complains? Like, literally, the guy's a thief. Like, he literally would just go in the store, disgusting. He would just eat chocolate bars, not even pay for it. He's a scammer, and just shove it randomly in the aisles. Who cares if he calls corporate, if we ban him from the store? Like, the guy deserves to get banned from the store. So, like, that's one of the dumbest things I heard my manager say. "Oh, yeah, well, we don't want to," he's like, "Oh, you're banned from the store," and then a few weeks later, he comes back, and he's like, "Oh, well, we don't want him to call corporate and complain, so we're unbanning him." It's like, I'm not ignoring you, Laren. There's just a lot of people that are posting. Pro, why did your store have fake cameras? Because the store was too cheap to have real cameras. Wait, whose wiki page, Lewis? Hey, Pro, what do you think of HelloFresh? Do you think it's good? I had HelloFresh, but it got too expensive for me. Do you keep up with it? And they sent me ingredients for food every week. You want to know the crazy thing about that? I actually got a HelloFresh box yesterday. Now, HelloFresh is something that I occasionally have every few months. I don't have it, every month. But about HelloFresh, man, I don't even have one of these matching cards. Damn. Hang on. see, hopefully, he's going in. Damn. HelloFresh treats their workers badly? They do. I didn't know that. Fake cameras can be used to intimidate shoplifters, as they can't tell between a real and fake cameras most of the time. Actually, you would be surprised. The shoplifters at my store were able to figure out which cameras were fake. Criminals will tell. Yeah, it was in 1994, Lewis. I hear a lot of stories that cops don't even bother arresting criminals because they get out a day later anyways. What I'll tell you is New York has some really stupid laws on that. But you wanted me but about HelloFresh. Let me tell you, Zombie, first about HelloFresh. The one thing I don't like about HelloFresh is how they send you like a box every week. And some of the HelloFresh recipes can take long to cook. Like, it can take like 45 minutes to cook some of them. I usually like the HelloFresh recipes that only have 4 steps. I don't like the 6-step ones. But about HelloFresh is, yeah, I have to constantly cancel like every week because I hate how they sent you like something every week. And I forgot to cancel that week, and I got a HelloFresh box. So I'll cook it and I'll eat it, but I wasn't like, planning on having HelloFresh. So that's what I say, and I agree with you. It got expensive. It used to be good at one point, but it has gotten expensive. So I will agree with you on that. What about the cops is, I'll tell you something, is I in real life, I've seen some incompetent cops in real life. Now, I don't know if it was because of the laws, or if they were just being incompetent. Maybe it was a bit of both. Maybe it was the laws and they were being incompetent. But basically, there was these really annoying kids that would come into my retail store, like, every Saturday night when I was working. And these kids, I'll tell you something about them. These kids were so annoying that they would come in with fake IDs. So, like, they didn't look like they were 21 at all, and they would come in with these IDs that were fake, and they would buy, like, multiple packs of beer. We're talking, like, 3-4 packs of beer, like the giant ones, like the really big packs of beer. Like, they would, like, empty out the whole fridge. That's what they would be doing. And so, like, these kids were just, not only just drinking illegally, but they were, like, alcoholics, too. And every Saturday night, remember, they would come in with their fake IDs. It was always the Pennsylvania state ID. That's what it always was. And you could tell that it was fake because you would simply ask them, like, who's the governor of Pennsylvania? Or you would ask them, like, what your address is. They would never be able to know the answer. I would call my supervisor down. My supervisor would basically say, we can't accept this order. Like, we can't accept this. They would complain. And then they would come back like a week later. A week later, they would come back to the exact same store where we denied them again. And my supervisor got basically pissed at them constantly coming in every week. And so what my supervisor did was, what he did was he distracted them. And in the meantime, actually called the cops. The cops come by. And when the cops come by, they take a look at their fake IDs. And do you know what happened is the cop actually did like this scanner, this machine that he had to like test IDs, and the fake ID that the kid had, the fake ID actually passed the test, but it was a fake ID. It wasn't like a real ID. But regardless, the fake IDs were designed so well that they even passed like the cops like fake ID test. But anyways, you know what the cop did? The cop took the fake IDs from those annoying kids, and he basically told them, don't do this again, guys, please. Don't do something like this again, and basically just let them go. Now, I'm not saying that he should have arrested them. I'm not saying he should have thrown these kids in jail. At that first time when he took the fake IDs and he told them not to do it again, at that point, I thought that the cops were, reasonable. But here's the thing about this, is a week later, 1 week later, those exact same stupid kids came back to the shop with fake IDs again on a Saturday night. So my manager called the cops on these kids. The cops came in, took their fake IDs, told them not to do it again. And a week later, these stupid idiots come back to the exact same store where my supervisor called the cops on them and try to do it again with fake IDs again. It's like, how stupid are these people? How dumb are these people? These people are complete idiots. But anyways, you know what happens? My manager calls the police. The police come. One of the cops who comes, it's the exact same cop again. And you know what the cop does? He just takes their IDs and leaves. He doesn't take them away, doesn't do any of that, doesn't even talk to them, just takes their IDs and leaves. And I was getting frustrated at that point. And you know what ends up happening? These kids, a couple days later, these kids came back. This time I wasn't working on a Saturday. They came back again with their fake IDs. This time I was working in the morning. And they come in with their fake IDs, and they're trying to get me to ring them up for alcohol. And I call up my supervisor. I have a different supervisor working. The supervisor comes down, and the supervisor basically says, like, what's the problem, Patrick? What's the problem? I don't want to say, blurt it out that the ID is fake. And I say, I'm not going to, ring these kids up. I'm not doing it. The supervisor wasn't able to figure out what I was trying to tell the supervisor. And I walk away. The supervisor rings up those kids and sells them the beer. And then the supervisor says to me, what was the problem, Patrick? And I say to the supervisor, I say to her, that those IDs were fake. And you just basically sold alcohol to underage, kids at this point. And you know what she says to me? She says to me, how can an ID be fake? An ID can't be fake. That's what she says to me. And I was like thinking like this. Like, it was like that. It's like, people have been faking IDs since the beginning of time. Ever since recorded ancient civilizations. Even when ancient civilizations had, like, IDs. Like, even then, like, they didn't have pictures. But even that back then, like, in ancient times when they had IDs, they would fake those too. So, like, people have been faking since, like, IDs since, like, the beginning of time. Like, when IDs were first available, people have been faking that since then. So, like, that was, like, one of the dumbest things that I've seen somebody do. But the thing that's scary about this is, what people don't know is that if you sell somebody, an underage person, alcohol, even if you asked for an ID and the ID turns out to be fake, you're going to get arrested for that. That's what people don't know about that. So it's called a strict liability law. That's pretty much what it is. So you are going to get arrested for that. So if you sell, alcohol to somebody, even if you ask for the ID and the ID is fake, you'll get arrested for that. That's what people don't know about. And that's what's that I personally think that law is stupid, because how are you supposed to know that the IDs are real or not? And for people asking me, how do I know that the IDs were fake? It's because the kids didn't look like they were 21, and they would come in with the Pennsylvania IDs. Like, it was never a New York ID. It was always an out-of-state ID. Always an out-of-state ID, that what it was. And they would never know what their address was. They would never know any of that stuff. So that's how you knew that the IDs were fake. It was pretty much obvious at that point. Why do I care so much? Well, the reason that I care so much is because if you sell them alcohol, and they basically get into a car crash or something like that, the police are going to come after you for that, and you're going to be held responsible, and you're going to get arrested. That's why I care about stuff like that, personally. It's stupid. It's stupid what those kids are doing, but that's, now, you can make the argument that the drinking age should be, like, not 21, that it should be 18, but regardless, in my country, if you sell somebody alcohol that is, at 18, you're gonna get arrested for that. And so, I don't want to have problems. I don't want to have, legal issues. But those kids coming in every week, and and the thing about this is, you have to be a complete idiot, a complete moron, to, like, go to the same store multiple times after they called the police on you. We called the police on them twice, and for them to literally go to the same store 3 times. It's literally after the police have been called twice, and then to go to the same place again. Like, how stupid can you possibly be? That is that's, let's say, those kids were complete idiots. And as for the cops, that cop told them, took their ID the first time and said, don't do it again, please, and just let them go. And the second time, he just took their IDs and just left, did not punish them or anything like that. Now, I'm not saying that the cop should have arrested them. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what the cop should have done should have taken them home. That's what the cop should have done. And should have talked to their parents. That's what he should have done. He should have taken them home, talked to their parents, and said, this is what your kid is doing. Your kid is, trying to buy alcohol with a fake ID. That is what the cop should have done. So that's it. Kids oftentimes are more scared of their parents than actually going to jail. So I'll say that's what the cop should have done, in my opinion. I'm doing really bad at poker today. But that was what I personally really annoyed me about those kids. Is those kids were really annoying. Okay, I'll see you, real, Steve. Take care, man. Those kids probably run a document forgery office, huh? Man, these cards suck. You are my favorite YouTuber, not gonna lie. Thank you, Liam. I think you should do grandpa voice when you speak as the judge and ace attorney. I could probably do that for the next case, not this one afterwards, but the next case. Do you think Kane and Lynch is a really strange game for Inside? It's not necessarily strange. I would say different. Oh, finally something I can work with. But if they were 18 plus, then talking to their parents wouldn't work. Actually, the thing about that is the cops could still call their parents. Like, you know, there's even if they're, you know, over 18, the cops could still call their parents to tell them that. You're one of the real ones, bro. Thank you, doll bro. Thanks, man. Oh, come on. Give me one matching card, please. Just one. No, I don't. I haven't worked in retail for years. Hey, bro, it's my birthday on Wednesday. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday, Wild Haggis. Okay, whoever gets an ace or a king, well, they have a pair, but if I get a... Man, I had such terrible cards today. This is our worst game of poker in months. Okay, just leave that. I like how there's a different animation if you run out of money, too.
You're back. Good to see you, sir.
Professional, does Optimus ever tell you about his previous jobs he had, he mentioned in his channel in the past? Optimus, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Optimus work at a pizza place? Correct me if I'm wrong on that in the past. I know he agrees with a lot of what I said. Optimus has come by my streams a few times in the past. He hasn't been here in a long time, but he's actually come by some of my streams in the past, and he's agreed with a few of the things I've said. So, yeah. He has messaged me a few times on Twitter in the past, but other than that, we never really talked. Yeah, he worked at Little Caesars. Okay, so I had it right that he worked at a pizza place. What month do you think is the most used for birthdays? I have no idea. Okay, I guess we'll probably wrap up the stream here. I'll still answer a few questions before I go. So if you guys want to ask me anything before I go, I'll still answer them. Also, I promise I'll have the next part of Ace Attorney tomorrow night. I promise. No, Tony didn't kill Giorgio because Giorgio is the boss of the Forellis in, in 1998. Or we're talking Sindako Chronicles. Doesn't Sindako Chronicles take place after Liberty City Stories? But Sindako Chronicles isn't technically canon, so. You got good promises, Pro. Thank you, Liam. Superstore, it's a workplace coming to be a retail. I should look into it. Who win a fight, Frank West or Chuck Green? Probably Frank West because he's covered wars, you know. I will eventually make a video on Manhunt on talking about how it's in the same universe as GTA. Have I seen Tales of the Jedi? No, I haven't. Would you say Battlefront is a good game or avoid it? If you're talking about the new Battlefront game, it's not a bad game. The Classic Collection is good, but if you're gonna buy the Classic Collection, wait until they patch a lot of the stuff, they fix a lot of the stuff, and also they include the 501st cutscenes, because they took out the 501st outro cutscenes, which was really annoying. Have I played the game Gun? No, but I know it's a Wild West game. I've never played that one. I love Watch Dogs. What's your next game planned for April? I'm not sure yet, though. It is embarrassing. I agree with him, but it's like if you're gonna buy the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, wait until they fix everything and they include the 501st cutscenes. Until then, don't get it. But I guess we'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you guys enjoyed the stream, do drop a like, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.